Hey there guys, this is Real Guardian. I'm going to make this one a quick recording. First, go to the Patreon, become a Patreon supporter, because eventually when I do an update, you'll understand why. Um, there's a GoFundMe page that you can go to help out the channel, and to be honest, I might even show off a picture next time, just showing how badly damaged my Chromebook has gotten. And finally, I've done a web novel, and the link will be down below. I hope you will enjoy it. That being said, let's get right into What If Belle Had the Force, Part 1. A young boy was walking in the rain, inside of a valley, surrounded by many cliffs, with three weapons visible on him. Two normal-looking swords and what looked like a tree branch handle in the form of a double-bladed sword on his back, walking to the stream in front of him, thinking back to his younger days. With his father and his training, he knew he was sent on this journey for a reason, and he was following the will of the Force. It seemed to pull him here, not really understanding why, though. But if it is the will of the Force, he must never doubt it. That is something his father always preached to him. He finally sat in a meditative state and lost himself in the feeling of the living force around him, as it penetrated him and granted him greater strength and understanding. As he was doing this, a blue-haired woman and a golden-haired young woman was riding from a group of monsters with men riding them, screaming, "Don't worry, we're here just to play with you." A bit. The blue-haired woman shot with a bow shot an arrow and killed one of the men, as the golden-haired girl screamed darkness hellfire. Great a great massive wall of black flames appeared before them, blocking them from chasing after them. But shortly after it did that, she nearly dropped to the ground, with the blue-haired woman grabbing her and running with her. The golden-haired woman saying, "Goddess Artemis, it's best for you to leave me. I don't want you dead." Artemis saying, "No, I am not leaving you behind at all. If you keep saying that, then we will go together. You're my first child, Car, and I will never abandon you." Running with all their might, just to barely get ahead and keep ahead of the group. At this point, getting into the valley, they crashed through some bushes, rocks, and actually into a nearby stream, but got injured in the process. Artemis crawls with Kara at this point, trying to get away, but not getting far, with a group of men getting off their mounts, licking their lips, since they seem to be quite parched. That's what Kara thought, saying, "This has been fun, ladies, but what we are doing is what is asked of us, to break you, goddess, and end you." Artemis looked at them with a warrior's ferocity, saying, "The evilists will never get their way, this time or ever." Drawing her bow back to fire, realizing she only had 3 arrows left in her quiver, using the last of them to fire at the men, though sadly one of the dragon mounts they were on burned them with fire, and had quite happy faces, knowing she got nothing left on her, especially since Carr was in such a weak state. Carr thinking if she could just summon that power. I wish the others were here, but we got separated. Just as the men got closer, a blur is only how you could describe it, as it cut down 5 of the monsters in a single instant, shocking the group of men and the 2 women. But then all the men in the group, being a grand total of 25, suddenly got lifted in the air, not understanding what was going on. Before they could really scream or say anything, they were slammed so hard on the ground they died on impact, being completely crushed. The remaining monsters were hit with electricity that was both purple and black at the same time, and killed. Oddly enough, all the mana crystals from the monsters were floating up. The 2 women turned to see which direction they were going. They see a young boy nearby a small rock near the stream. Looking at the boy, they had a shared thought. Is that cloaked armor? Not really understanding what he's wearing. Basically, he's wearing the Revan outfit on the thumbnail for people that just want to know what he's wearing. He crushes the stones, and they seem to be absorbed by him. He breathes in and out. Appears before the golden hair woman and touches her. At first she wanted to fight back, but had no strength. But noticed all the injuries, her near mind-down state, plus some of the fatigue, was almost gone like magic. She looked at the boy. He just simply nodded at her. He walked to the goddess. She had her bow drawn in case of an attack, but the closer he got, the more she lured him. Something about the boy made her trust him unconditionally. She could not understand why at all. It was quite weird. He then touched her, and the same thing happened to her, feeling like all the injuries and fatigue, even if it was only a little bit, went away. After that, the young boy pointed to a place far away, making a following motion with his hands. Both the women looked at each other, nodded, and followed the boy, since he already saved them, and to be honest, he could have killed them instead of healing them. They kept walking, wondering why he was doing this, until they arrived to a cave. The boy simply walked in, taking a seat in a meditative state, while they just collapsed on the ground, realizing they're just too weak and tired from all this, and sleep into a deep slumber. The young boy was thinking out loud, so, this is why I was brought here. I must tap into the force once more. As he did that, it started to show him a vision of future, glimpses of many things that will come. Seeing all before his eyes, he grabs his head and breathes heavily. Saying out loud once more, I see, that's what's going to happen. It's best to see as a guide, though. His father once said, a vision of the future shown in the Force, are not complete proof of the future, because much like the Force, time is a living and flowing thing, and will change. But with it, I can set up a better path to follow, and prepare for. You can never be too careful, as he once said. Taking a deep sigh, looking through his max, thinking to himself, these beings that rely on blessings and deities are truly weak. Had she not relied so much on it, she could have kept fighting and won. Taking another deep sigh, as he went into a meditative state, as the night turned into the morning. Morning air seemed to blast through the cave. Both of the women awoke to see that there was food being cooked in the cave by the boy. It was quite weird. They didn't know how he did all that. He simply handed them both bowls with food in them, and they decided, at this point, why really question it? It's best not to fry their brains over something so simple. And after getting it, they questioned why he was handing them the food. He simply just said eat. Taking his word for it, they eat. They think it's a very delicious meal, one of the best they've ever had, actually. But then the boy suddenly got up, walked near to the cave's entrance, and drew one of his swords, as another blade came crashing down. But it was not budging at all. To see a tan, black-haired woman with her hair in a ponytail. Her eyes were dark brown, and she had the look of an angry wolf. Her tails and ears were just as black as her hair, and just as dark. She was wearing a simple adventurer's outfit, with a simple curvy body type. But the boy just said two words, force push, and sent her flying away. She crashed into a couple of trees. Seeing this shocked both Cara and Artemis. They knew the boy was strong, but they could not believe the power that was just shown to them so easily. Was he level 9? Maybe even higher? He sighed, following up with his words, simply saying, force pull, as the woman was pulled back to him, to his hands. Grabbing her, he then, using the force, summoned all the rocks around him. He slammed her down with his fist very quickly, and buried her with the rocks, leaving only her head out. He returned into the cave, going back into a meditative state, with both Artemis and Cara looking at each other and sighing. With Artemis finally speaking up, saying, that young boy just saved us, Missy. The young woman started to blush, saying, sorry, goddess, Artemis. Artemis laughed out loud a bit. Then looking at her blushing face and, which you could probably tell if she could see, her wagging tail, thinking a bit. It seems her werewolf instincts for a strong mate just kicked in. But still, that boy's not said much. Or his name. Taking a deep breath, she walked up to her child and flicked her in the nose, saying, how many are left out of the 5, Missy? She responded with all 3, with me, Cara, and you are alive. And well. They will get here soon, trust me. Hearing that, she turned to the boy, saying, thank you. By the way, my name is Artemis. These two are my children, Cara and Missy. The boy nodded. Artemis asked, why did you help us? The boy simply responded with this. It is the will of the Force. That is all I need to say, as he waved his hand. This confused the one present. What was this Force? Did it have to do with those skills, or maybe it's some kind of magic? He did just show off something pretty damn amazing. They pondered for a bit when Artemis saying, "So, what is your name, by the way?" The boy turned, saying, "It's Stark Sean. I'm currently on a journey by following its will. That is all you need to know." As he lifted the rocks and brought a third bowl out, using the Force to fill it and sent it to the wolf girl, saying, "Eat." He went silent once more. Artemis saying thank you, with Missy also saying thank you. He just simply nodded. Well, they ate until they were full, quite thankful for such a good meal. With the other three arriving, one being a Catwoman with long brown hair, with her purple eyes filled with tears. She had on armor, was petite, especially with a small chest. Next to her was an elf woman with red hair and twin tails. She wore wearing a normal mage outfit. She had black eyes and she was average height and with an average chest, oddly enough. Finally, a small fox girl appeared. She had a small body, about the boy's size and height. She had long white hair that stretched down to her knees. Her blue eyes were animalistic, as if she was looking at prey. She was wearing a kimono and actually had a great sword on her back. They walked up screaming, "Goddess and Cara, are you alright?" They both nodded. The women and the girls introduced themselves. The cat's name was Minnie, the elf's name was Angel, the fox's name was Snow. They bowed their heads and thanked the boy. He just nodded again. Sitting down having a meal in the cave after they had their fill of food, deciding it was just as good. After a long deliberation, deciding to go to Orario to get help from the Estrella Familia. Once they have their health, it'd be safer. Artemis even thought about it. Maybe they could get help from Harris' Familia as well. Plus, Euless would be less likely to attack them in the city. And Shelt with Harris' help, maybe they could end this threat too. The boy hearing this finally spoke up, saying, "I'll go with you. After all, my path is that way too, it seems." Three of the women smiled, while the other three looked with a bit of disgust, but they could tell their goddess was on the warpath to get there, and any help against Evilus would be good, even if it was not that great. They were slowly walking out of the forest, back towards that valley cliff area, and followed a small path, finally getting to the road, seeing that their carriage, thank God, had been destroyed. Their group gets in, with Carr being the driver, and Arna saying, "We are now 5 days away from the city. Be ready for anything, because anything can happen at all." They all nodded, but noticed this Stark, as their collective thought, is always meditating. Does not speak really. They don't really get it. But three of the women think as long as he doesn't mess with our plans, we're good with him. The other three thinking, hopefully he'll be strong enough to help us. But shaking their heads, getting the thought out of their head, no, he is strong enough to help us. It's been about 4 days since then. They're almost there. They decided to go through the night last night to get there faster. But sadly, a huge group of bandits and adventurers from Evilus showed up. The artist is familiar shaking a bit, because their strongest member is Carr, who's actually a level 4, which is impressive for someone outside the city. The rest are between 3 and 2. There's nothing but level 3 adventurers with at least one level 4 in that group. Before they could act, Stark finally spoke up for the first time since the cave, saying, "Do not worry, this will be quick." He disappeared and reappeared in the middle of the group so fast that barely anyone registered. Even Kara couldn't register it. Only Artemis, thanks to her goddess instincts, could. He simply said, "Force repulse," sending out shockwave ripples so massive and so strong they disintegrated every living person in their way, and some on the road. He peered back in the carriage, making the three that saw him with disgust now shiver in fear. That kind of power is terrifying. And they really thought, when did he move? Why did he move that fast? So many thoughts clouded their minds, but they kept themselves. They all started moving once again in the carriage. Girls having visible thinking faces while blushing I don't really understand why they were blushing, though. Finally, they get to the city gates by nightfall, getting in line to wait for their chance. Once getting to the gates front, they're all asked who they are, and they get info from the Artemis family, but tell Stark to pay up, since he's not a member of their family, and they had already paid prior, thanks to Estrella's help. But they also need to know why he's here. He simply just threw the coins they needed, simply saying the Force brought me here. That is all you need to know, even waving his hands as he was angered by this. Even though it's weird, the guards just accepted it and let him go with the carriage until they get to Estrella's familiar home. Once there, they see Goddess Estrella coming out saying, "It's great to see you, Artemis. I hope your trip was well." They all nodded no, with her response being, "Let's walk in." And after a while walking inside, she decided to take a quick jab at Artemis, saying, "Is that your boyfriend?" Pointing to the young boy. She blushed, saying, "No, he just helped us out. His name is Stark Sean." Artemis laughed hard and asked, "So is he your child or someone else's?" Or said, "I don't really know." Hearing it, Stark spoke, saying, "I am no child of a deity. For that is a weakness I will not accept for right now. I am here for my journey. That is all that is needed to know." He then went silent. This shocked the artist family. They thought he was level 9 or higher, just given his strength and power. But saying he's not blessed truly shocked them and made them wonder what or how did he get this strong? To many adventurers, that kind of strength is something they grasp and desire with all their might. Estrella was laughing hard in front of Artemis because of all the shocked looked in faces she saw. Numbers getting herself together asks what's wrong. Estrella simply shook her head, saying nothing. "My friend." Artemis asks, "So can you let us live here until we gain a foothold?" "That's all I humbly ask." Estrella smiled, saying yes, and that offer goes to you too, Astar. You're quite interesting. He nodded. Sure, saying, "Not much of a talker, that one, huh? But I wonder what he looks like. He may be young, but if I was a betting woman, and I am, I'd say he's a hunk." She laughed, making the rest of the girls think about it. They got a bit red, but decided to ignore it. After a bit, he was shown the room he could use. Now entering it, he placed the wooden double sword from his back in front of him and started to float with it. As he meditated, a blue and red box-shaped item came into the air, combining into, as he sang, "Father Revan." Soon, a hologram of a man that looks like Keanu Reeves, let's be honest. In my personal opinion, that's what Revan would look like. Saying, "Hello there, my son. How's your force doing so far?" They talked for a bit, with Stark asking his father, "What do you think I should do?" His father sighed. Revan saying, "My son, it's your choice. I know you think blessings make someone weak by relying on too much, but since you know that weakness, it won't affect you. I think it's best for you to stay in Orario for the time being, especially since the Force is calling you. Also, I expect you to call at least 3 times a week, and we're going over your strategy training and various combat traits. I also understand what you're doing while training. During this time, do I make myself clear?" He nodded, saying, "Yes, Master Father." Whenever they're training, he called him Master Father to show his respect. They talked a bit more, and he even asked about his mother, and his father said she's doing well. Quite sad he's gone, though. Before Stark slumbered, he thought about his current journey, his past, his family, wondering if he had been this strong before. Had she been alright? While meditating, he awakened in the morning, quite early, walking to the kitchen to see a black mess of food. And 2 tired goddesses, clearly looking like they were about to pass out. He chuckled, saying, "Should I cook for you two?" They both looked at him, blushed, and got a little mad at the young boy, saying, "Fine, Stark." He nodded simply, cooked, and by the time the rest of the group got up, it was ready. He had bacon, eggs, and toast, all digging in, with Australia saying, "Okay, if he's not your boyfriend, he can become my husband. So marry me. All I need is this amazing food," while giving a cute face to him. The rest of the women and girls all saying, "Nope, he should marry me instead." Australia giving a look and sighing, saying, "Yeah, he'd probably say no anyways." Stark actually spoke, saying, "If I got to know you better, I'd probably accept that. You are quite beautiful, Goddess Estrella. It caused her to blush heavily. She coughed and saying, "Thank you." Turning to Artemis, saying, "So since your familiar is saying to Artemis, so since my familiar is in the dungeon on expedition, the geisha familiar is covering the streets for us. What do you plan to do?" Respond with registering at the guild so I can get permission for them to go into the dungeon. Stray turned to Stark, asking him about what he was going to do. He stopped eating, pondered a second, and answered, "I will go get registered since I need to do that, and explore the city. Maybe eat out as well." Artemis asked, "So how about this? We just do it together." Everyone nodded, declaring Stark. Getting up after finishing breakfast, Stark actually quickly washed the dishes, and most of the girls thanked him for doing it. Australia saying goodbye to everyone, also pointing out that they should let her tag along for dinner, because she wanted in on the fun too. They all said yes and agreed to it. Getting to the guild, Arbus and the familiar registered there while explaining their details. While there, Stark was filling out the paperwork. They told him it was okay to enter a dungeon without buzzing, but he's going to need to get one eventually. They understand why he was doing it, because maybe with some fame and luck, he might get into a familiar easier. Finally, the person said and told him to wait. He waited for a while, and the person that was supposed to be his advisor showed up. It was clearly a nervous young half-elf girl. She was clearly younger than him, but slightly older than him. He figured out, guessing her age, saying, "Hi there, my name is Ina, and I'll be your advisor, if that's alright." Stark nodded. She started going over basic dungeon stuff and some other things. He thanked her for her time and told her that he'd be back to get more information from her. She blushed a bit, saying she'll try her best to help him. And he left with Artemis familiar. They asked if he was okay with her since he could tell she was new. He nodded at them, saying he was fine, though he felt the gaze of a deity on him. But he chose to ignore it. As the rest of them explored the sea, a certain silver-haired goddess saying, "That's the most beautiful soul I've ever seen. It's every color. Colors you thought unimaginable are theirs. Well, it's even transparent. It even changes with his mood." She turned to a dwarf woman, saying, "Mia, honey, can you go get Otar and find out more about the boy?" She nodded, saying, "Yes, goddess," with the group having a very relaxing time exploring the city and getting to know each other a bit more. Once getting done, they get Estrella for the dinner, getting to a pub that seems pretty popular. As they were eating, a group of the hair familiar walked in and sat at the table. Arm was saying, "Okay, after I eat, I'll ask them if they'll set up a meeting with hair. Hope it'll go over well for me." Stray saying, "It will, don't worry." They finish eating. Artemis walks up and starts talking to them. But Stark notices a white-haired woman with green eyes wearing a dress. Of what's most likely her sister, his thought process. She had silver hair with one green eye and one gray eye, wearing a dress as well. You could tell that they had some kind of disease, and the white-haired sister was clearly hanging on by a thread at this point. He got up and walked towards him. He heard Artemis talking to the group, saying, "No, we will not bother our goddess with your problems or get involved with them." She was about to scream at them for being disrespectful, but before she could, Stark arrived, left all but the two women in the air, pinning them against the wall, shocking everyone in the pub about what he just did. Before the game registered it, he disappeared and reappeared behind the women and started to heal him. As he healed their bodies, purging the disease from it. It was quite difficult, but he knew he could do it. Once it was done, he dropped the rest of the group, but before they could attack, Stark just spoke, saying, "You two are healed. Now give Artemis what she wants." The two of them looked in shock at each other. When the white-haired woman started to punch the air, realized there's no pain. She got up and jumped, ran around a bit, turned in tears with her eyes, grabbing her sister, saying, "Althea, we are healed." She cried for a bit, with her sister saying through tears, "We are, Mitria." This made everyone in the Hera group start crying their eyes out as well. When both of them were done and they saw the boy was about to leave, both of the women got up and quickly ran to the boy, thanking him over and over again. While asking, "So what's your name?" He said it was Stark Shaw. They looked down with Mitra asking, "Can you take off your mask?" Stark's response, after pondering with his hand underneath his mask and chin, "I will, but don't ask again. It's quite annoying for me to take it off." This made everyone that is familiar with her and Astrea look carefully at him. Plus, well, basically all the women in the bar. He took off his mask and hood showed a young 12-year-old boy with a very handsome face that could rival a god even at this age, with brown hair and a slight ponytail and his crimson eyes. This made everyone in the pub turn a deep shade of crimson. Even the sisters had performed. He placed his mask back on, saying, "Have a wonderful day. Astrea, I will be walking around for a bit. See you back at the place." He felt a pull. That's why he started to walk. She screamed back, "Be careful." With the sisters running up after if he left asking, "Astrea, is even your familiar? I thought you only had women." Astrea laughed a bit at them, saying, "No, not mine or an Artemis familiar. But better let Artie talk to your goddess, though." Iris got red, saying, "I hate it when you use that nickname for me," causing the rest of the women around them to laugh. The sisters nod their heads, but saying oddly enough in unison, "We will, but Iris has to bring Stark with you tomorrow. Our gods would want to meet him immediately, but I think it's best to wait." They all nod in agreement. Stark has been walking around, taking in the night air. It was a peaceful, very clear, fresh air. Enjoying his time, actually. Very rare for him to do such things. He's always concentrating on becoming stronger with the Force and following its path and will. While walking to a certain place, he realized what was pulling him. It was the Force, and it was in this alleyway. So he decided to walk into it. As he was walking into the alleyway, turning to a corner to see a golden-haired girl in a white dress, he sensed so much hatred in her it shocked him. He decided he could not leave her there or in her hatred. As he tried to touch her, she bolted up and tried to attack him. Seeing her golden eyes, he stopped her fist, flipped her around, and placed her in a strong hold against his chest. She thrashed for a bit before finally stopping. Stark saying, "It's okay, little one. My name is Stark. What is yours?" She looked down with a blank face and said, "It's eyes." He smiled under his mask, asking her a simple question. "Would you like to be my student?" She nodded. He put her down and said, "My training will be harsh, and I might kill you. Once I'm done with you, you will be stronger. It is your choice to take a blessing of a deity or not. Just know that I will not let you get used to it. You must learn to fight with its benefits and without it. Do you understand?" She nodded, and she wobbled a bit. Seeing this, he decided to pick her up in a princess carrier, saying, "Let's go." She blushed a bit and meekly hid her head into his chest, saying, "All right." He turned back to Astrea's home, saying, "I'm back, Goddess Astrea." I left she was still up, saying, "Welcome back," taking one look at the girl, giving the most shocked expression look she could, saying, "Are you trying to get a bride that young? Where is your decency?" Hearing that, he popped her head with a clock that was nearby with the Force, saying, "No, this is going to be my student Eyes." He walked into her room and lay her down in his bed. She quickly fell asleep in the comfort and contacted his father, talking about his day so far. His father finally saying he was so happy to learn, "You have finally taken a student, my son." But having to ask this question, can she use the Force? Stark smiled under his mask. Even his father noticed it, saying, "Yes, it is a very insanely strong connection, too. But since 99.9% of the people here cannot use it, it makes sense that she has no idea she has it at all. But first, I have to get rid of that intense hatred she carries. It will be too much of a strong pull to the dark side, but she needs to be balanced." Revan nodded, saying, "Yes, if you need anything on this path, my guidance is for you at any time, so do not hesitate to contact me. Also, your mother wants to talk to you tomorrow." Stark nodded, saying, "Thank you, father." His father chuckled, saying, "So is she my future daughter-in-law? If she is, you have to tell your mother." Son Stark blushed, saying, "No, she's just my student." To this response, his father laughed very hard, saying, "It's all right to have those kinds of emotions. Man, we are not like Jedi or Sith, for we are ones who choose to be what we want to be, my son." Stark nodded. He ended the talk there, taking off his mask and hood and laying down. with eyes, quite tired from the day. It was the next morning, and eyes was completely red in the face. Seeing her new master's face, she was given an instant heart attack. But she didn't want to leave his embrace. It was kind, comforting, for it's the first one she's felt in so long. In her heart, she had already been a hero when he decided to help her. So she decided to brace the painful torture of this lovely sight until he woke up. He finally woke up about an hour later, looking at her, saying, "Good morning, Eyes." She nodded meekly, saying, "Good morning, master." He smiled at that, and it nearly ended her life right then and there. Thinking to herself, how can a smile be that beautiful? He placed his hood and mask back on, saying, "Come, I am making breakfast for her. Also, I forgot to ask how old you are." She answered him. She turned 7 recently from her memory. He nodded, saying, "That's good to know." They walked out, and she watched carefully how he made the food. And once everyone was awake and sat down, Eyes helped serve the food, all the women thinking she was the most adorable little girl they've ever seen. With Stray finally asking us, while pointing something out. "This is apparently Stark's student, right?" He nodded, getting to what she wanted to ask. "So, little one, would you like to join my familia or the artist familia?" Those words hanging in the air, Eyes pondered and then spoke. "Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Basically, this one you can decide whether they get blessings or not. I'm sorry if the read was a little bit sloppy. It's just I'm a bit tired. I wanted to record this last night, but after like almost 3 hours of failure to record because things happening in life, my neighbors being loud, and all this other stuff, I just decided to take a nap. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will actually enjoy writing this series. I know I will. So, like I said, down in the comments below, tell me whether they should join a familiar or not. And if you're wondering, I will go into a backstory arc eventually. Like the first arc and act is actually setting up the key plot points. And if you're wondering why Hestia and the rest is involved, this takes place before canon, while also being in canon to some extent because I kind of want to mix it up. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day. This is the Real Guardian signing off.